All right, guys. So we're finishing up. We're wrapping up. You know, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. I know it, right? You got so many ideas. You want to get back. You want to start implementing these. So I'm going to be finishing off kind of building the team. So now we're going to be talking about like how I did it. I'm going to kind of talk about the people I put in place, kind of how I built the team, and it's still going. So this was 2017, 18 right here, and then right here is now. So this was our latest picture that we got. Like we have the trailer rigs in there with the hot water. We don't actually have the reclaim unit in there. That's actually around the back behind the SH tank right there to the right of the building. But it comes with a whole different set of problems, right? Issues, mental, like as far as like leadership goes, you're always developing you as you're developing your team, right? And so it comes with a whole lot of stuff, and it's a lot of fun, and you know, there's a lot of mouths I gotta feed, a lot of responsibility, and I teach that to my kids too. Like when we do company outings and stuff, you know, we have a responsibility to set the example, you know, for our team. And so it's really excited to be a part of, and I wanna kind of show you guys how I did it, and it may not be the way you do it, you know, but it'll get you kind of a framework of what and how it's possible and that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of go into some numbers. I don't mean to brag or anything. You see all these trucks, you're like, dude, that's amazing. You know, I'm not here to brag. I want to show you and I want to change your mindset of it's possible, okay? This industry is very, very profitable, and you can make it whatever you want it to be, right? So don't ever let anybody tell you you can't. So small business is the backbone of America. So 52% of the nation's workforce, right? That's what it makes up of. We're building something bigger than ourselves, okay? We're building opportunity, right, for our community, for people that are coming, that are going to be employed by us. We're building families. We're building an industry. In the last 14 to 15 years is really incredible where our industry is coming with chemicals, surfactants, equipment. You know, all that stuff is really, I'm just like blown away just by seeing that. Our prices have been going up. You know, our equipment's getting better. We're being seen like nationally. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. You guys are getting in, especially for you guys just starting right now. You know what I mean? There's so much opportunity. So, you know, I just want to commend you guys because this is what we're bringing, right? We're bringing hope to the community. We're bringing hope for us, for our families. We're building that opportunity, okay? And so a little bit about me, you guys heard a little bit about my story. You know, I had a rough start. I was raised in a trailer park by my mentally ill mom. I love my mom. She passed away in 2015. And so I brought her down from New York, and we had to put her in a home down here. She actually got kicked out of a couple homes, but she was awesome. She was my, you know, best cheerleader. She was always rooting for me. And, you know, my dad was never in the picture, and she was the one who raised me until I was like in, what was it? 7th grade. I was going to 7th grade dance, and my mom, she held me out of school. I still, to be honest with you, I'm not a great reader to this day. Like, I'm really not. I'm trying, and I'm bettering myself, but I didn't really go to school. She kept me out of school. I got beat up a lot. I was into some crazy stuff, and so I ended up going into foster care, and then my uncle adopted me, but he was an alcoholic. He ended up passing away. I actually found him. He died in the trailer. I had to go through the window because the police were outside. My dog was outside, and they were like, I can't go in without a warrant, so I had to go in the window, and I found him in the trailer, you know. And so it was rough, not gonna lie, you know what I mean? But I'm not gonna hold that, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna be like, oh, you know, I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna keep pushing. And so, you know, with our New York branch, he actually was my best friend from the trailer park. I remember going into foster care, and he sent me a letter with a $5 bill in it. He's like, dude, keep your head up, man. I'll see you someday, you know? And he actually runs and owns the New York branch now. And so I actually kind of helped him out. He bought my first truck. You'll see it in that picture, that Dodge Ram that I used to clean the Marriott. He actually has that up in New York, using it with my original rig. So it's really cool. And he's doing really good things. But, you know, I had a learning disability, you know? I was told I would never amount to anything. And that was even true in college when I went to Bob Jones. No joke. I had a teacher say, because I was a class clown. You know what I mean? I like to mess around. You know, not me, right? No, no. So, you know, I like to have fun and stuff like that. But, you know, it really is about just kind of coming there and and proving, I guess not really proving them wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I'm gonna prove them wrong, because they said I couldn't do it, now I'm gonna really try, and I really push, you know? And so, you know, when I started in 2006, really didn't know anything about business. So in 2009, I was broke, and I was in the owner-operator rut. You know, I was stuck at $85,000 a year gross, so that means I was probably making, what, $14,000, you know, take-home pay, maybe, if I was lucky. And then in, I guess it was 2010-ish, 2009, 2010, right before I hired AC Lockyer, actually, I was gonna go work for the railroad. So my brother-in-law married my wife, you know, we had kids, and my brother-in-law was like, man, in Greenville, they're building bridges, you know, for the railroad. He's like, it starts off at $23 an hour, full benefits, and, you know, you can get in there. He's like, fill out the resume, I'll pass it along. I was like, dude, like, I'm kind of thinking about that, right? Because in the winter, you know how it is. We're rice and beans, you know what I mean? In the beginning, you're like, how am I going to get my next job? And that's the way it was. And so I really was praying about it. I kept getting this quote, never, never give up. And my mom gave me the plaque. I was hearing it all over the place. And so I came to my wife, and I was like, I keep hearing this quote, that never, never give up, from Winston Churchill. And she's like, I am too. And I'm like, no way. And so I actually put my resume in, but I never did hear anything back. And I forgot all about it, actually, and I just kept pushing. I was like, we need to do this. Like, God's telling us to do this. And so I did. I stuck it out. And so in 2010, I hired AC with my last $4,000 in December. Okay, I'm going into the winter. All I had saved up was $4,000 in the bank. And I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to do it. And so I hired AC, picked him up in my van. My wife's sitting on a 5-gallon bucket, that Astro van I was telling you about, right, with the 2 kids in the back. And so he gets in from the airport in the passenger seat. He's like, and he goes, we were teaching like later after, and he was like, Pat, do you remember what you said to me? And I was like, no, I don't remember. And he's like, you turned to me and you said, that was my last $4,000. Where do we go from here? And he thought he was coming to a reputable company, because my picture that I sent him was like in front of my apartment complex, garages, you know, I had the neighbors in it and everything. No, it was me, and I was jumping in like 3 different vehicles, right? And so he came in, he gave me the rock flyer. He's like, look, you just need to throw rock flyers and get business. And in that January, normally we would do maybe $5,000 the whole month in January. I ended up doing $15,000 that next month in January off clip flyers. And I was like, holy cow, I need to replicate that. And so that's what I did, man. I was like Jesus Christ was strapped to my back. And I was out there hustling, making it happen, because I had to, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so he gave me the vision, though, because he was like, when he came out, he's like, you know, when we opened, he had 3 branches in Florida. He's like, when we opened Delray branch, the first month, guess what he did? First month in production. $185,000. His first month. And I was like, that's what I would have been like, yeah, 30,000, right? And he's like, $185,000. And I'm like, holy moly. I'm like, I couldn't even fathom that, right? So to be honest with you, growing up in the trailer park, like me and my mom selling shamrocks down at the grocery store, you know what I mean, for 50 cents, to hear $185,000, I had to change my thinking, right? I had to change where I was brought up and said, okay, this is possible, you know? And then when I built my business plan and everything, and we actually did, we did $250,000 in 1 month, cleaning, spraying bleach. And I'm like, holy cow, you know what I mean? I'm like, I didn't know it was possible, but I had to break my paradigm. So kind of how I did it was I built a team around me, right? So I had coaches. I started with coaches. I started with people that were in the shoes that I wanted to be in. And I said, that's the guy. I want to follow him. What is he doing? Let me find out if he likes it, right? Is he enjoying it? And then, okay, can I do it? And then I had to get staff, and I had to get players, right? Because players are the people in the team. Your lead tech, assistant tech, you know, right? So I had to do that. And so this picture right here, I had to create a board right there. And I had a trailer. It was a 5x8 trailer. I had to paint the logo on the side of the trailer, right? Paint it white and then paint it on, because I couldn't afford like a wrap or anything like that. And so as I started getting team members in here, I think this was a Christmas party or a company party, I can't remember. Barbara was my first office girl right there. And so they were coming in, and as I was building teams, they were like, this must be Pat's company. Because I started having little systems and stuff, and they were like, there's no way he came up with this stuff. Because I sure wasn't smart, you know what I mean? I really wasn't, I'm not going to say it. And so they were like, how are they doing? And I said, no, this isn't my dad's company, because my dad was never in the picture. I created this because they're like, well, Pat's saying to do this, but I'll do this. I was like, dude, no, I started this company from bloodshed and tears. I know what needs to happen on a truck. I know when this stuff happens, you know what I mean? And so they would come to me like, well, no, that job should have taken, 5 hours. I'm like, nah, dude, no, it's a 2-hour job. You know what I mean? And they're like, no, it should be this. And I'm like, no, I can clean that by myself without a helper in an hour and a half. So you guys should do it with 2 people in 2 hours. But we had to cast the vision, that I did know the system, I did know the product, I did know my company in and out, right? And so this is kind of how we did it. So here's AC Lockyer way back when. Holy cow, I'm skinny in that picture. I haven't seen that in a while. But no, I had to get a coach, So coaches are a necessary part of building and managing a team. There are no self-made champions out there, right? You look at Michael Jordan. How many coaches did Michael Jordan have? Like, he had a lot, right? All these players have coaches, not just one, multiple coaches, pushing them, making them achieve their greatness. Because we have greatness in all of us, we really do. It's just who's going to pull it out? How are you going to pull it out, right? Knowing what that is. And so entrepreneurs need coaches more than anybody. Me going from a job to owning a company, I was never a manager. I was never an owner. I remember, when I worked at Eddie's Auto Repair, I remember going there after school every day, and I was like, Eddie, I want to work here, because my foster brother was working there, and he was doing the oil changes and stuff, and I needed a job, and I was like, man, I go in there every day, you know what I mean? And finally, he was like, I need you to sweep the whole parking lot. I was like, dude, I'm on it. Because I would put in 110%. It didn't matter what I was doing for that person. It didn't matter what the job position was. I would put in 110%. And I remember sweeping the parking lot, and I swept that thing good, man. Like, I can sweep. I'm telling you, I'm a good sweeper after that parking lot. So then he's like, dude, that looks really good. I'm like, yeah, man. So, great. Do I get paid? You know what I mean? He's like, all right, here you go. He's like, now I want you to paint all the curves all the way around. I'm like, sweet. Yeah, man, give me the paint. Paint all the curves red, right? Then I worked my way up, and I literally, from sweeping the parking lot, working my way up to pumping the gas. He didn't have gas in the very beginning. As he got that stuff and he was making his business bigger, I was like, Eddie, we need to put license plates on every car that gets gas. He's like, I don't know if we can do that. I was like, well, I'll just do it. So he bought the license plate frames. I put them on every car. I started checking the oil. So this is in New York. So I'm checking the oil for customers. I'm doing that customer service because I love people. I love serving people. And so I started doing that. His business exploded. His license plate frame had a little car with a cigar off the side. And so I'm sitting there one winter, and it's cold. I mean, it's really cold. And I would always get, drinks for the guys and come back and that kind of stuff. Well, I was sitting there. It was really quiet. Nobody was there, and I had my hands in my pockets. And so I'm waiting for the next customer, you know what I mean? I'm just kind of, hanging out. Well, Eddie came in, and Eddie, he's a shorter guy. I think he's Cuban maybe. But he was the funniest guy ever. He's awesome. And I still talk to him to this day, but he came in one day, and I had a zip-up. It was a zip-up coat with pockets just like this. And he came in, he's like, Pat, what are you doing? I'm like, man, I'm waiting for the next customer, man. I'm like, trying to keep my hands warm and everything. And he's like, come here. I was like, all right. He's like, put your hands out. I was like, put my hands out. And he grabs the stapler, and he goes, click, 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 click. He staples my pockets shut. And I'm like, dude, what'd you just do? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, no. He's like, listen, I don't ever want you standing around with your hands in your pocket. He's like, there's always something to do. Whether you're sweeping out in the shop, you're sweeping here, you always look busy because people are always watching, right? The team is watching. And so I'll never forget that to this day. And I tell all my team members this story. I'm not going to go staple their pockets, but I'm going to tell them the story. But it really resonated with me because customers watch, people watch, right? Whatever you're doing, like when we're doing a house wash, I'm scrubbing the gutters with gutter bar. I'm not just spraying on and rinsing it off. I'm working for that money. I'm working for that person. I want them to see that I'm doing that. They're like, holy cow, that company actually gets up and scrubs because we're a detailing company. That resonates, right? So that's what we did there. And so as entrepreneurs, though, we don't, it's not like a job. We don't have somebody pushing us every day. So you need somebody to say, this is where you need to go, right? That's already been up the mountain sometimes. Because business can be scary. And then we got staff. So staff takes care of the everyday functions of the team so that coaches and team captains can lead. If you're in the weeds, man, you can't see what's ahead of you. If you're on the truck, you're not looking at the spreadsheet. You're not looking at QuickBooks. Right? So you got to slowly move out of that. And the way to do that is with staff. So staff supports the skilled players in the organization. And that's how we've always done it. We've kind of scaled up, right? And then we have managers and stuff, then we have people under them, and they report to them. And that's how we have systems, right? And so players, here's some of our things. I'm really big on, name recognition. You passed around that flyer, right, earlier today. And so you had the business card on there. I love that. Well, this is my business card. And I put our face on everything. Because people do business with whom they like and trust. This guy's got all his teeth. I mean, you can't see because he's doing like a little weird smile there. But when, on a picture, they're looking at that. Like, how clean cut are they? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. I want them to know who they're doing business with. Because sometimes they look at a business card, they're like, all right, cool. But this, you know what I mean? Eyes, they're recognizing that stuff. So we actually, all our clip flyers have my business card on it. And so when we get bad reviews, they're like, oh, that guy, that Pat Clark guy, they'll even put my name in it. I'm like, yeah, dude, I got my name in bad review. But no, they want to feel like they're part of a team. We were talking about that earlier, right? They're leaving big corporate jobs. Money's really good for recognition, for purpose, for all that stuff. I want everybody in my team to feel like they're a part of the team. So they all get their picture up there, right? And we actually have a header, and then we have two chains, and we have clips, right? We do a lot of clips. So I've clip chained basically on one side, and so we put leads for sales reps on the left, and then we have the quote sheets on the right. And then for the technicians, we have good reviews, and then we have bad reviews, touch-ups and everything on the right. So we have a good and bad. That's the wall of fame / shame. But they all have a spot. And then we do like rewards, we do bonuses, we do it all on the chain. So when they come in, you can hear on a Monday morning, they're like, oh, you can hear them out the way. Oh, Johnny's got a touch-up, you know what I mean, on the chains. And it's so much fun. They're like, oh, crap, did I get a touch-up? You know what I mean? And then they go and they fix it. They can even call bounty on that. Like if that guy doesn't get it done in 4 days, the other technician can call bounty on that and say, hey, I want to go do Johnny's touch-up for $50. They're like, dude, do it up, get it done. If it's done before he can do it, you get $50. And then Johnny's like, dude, what the heck, man, And you're like, hey, it's got to get done in customer service first. So you just make it fun, right? So here's some sales rep things. There's Boyce, he was one of our lead techs. He would never smile. I couldn't get that guy to smile, but he was an awesome, awesome technician. He was really good. And then Carl, he was good until he cost me $40,000. That stunk. But he had some girlfriend issues. He had like 5 girlfriends. Yeah, it's not good, guys. It's not good. It's not good. Doesn't work out for you, I'm going to tell you. It didn't work out for Carl. But players put points on the board for the team, okay? So players consist of 2 groups in a service business. You have your sales and you have your service. So my first 3 hires, these were the biggest. Here's the picture, guys. So this is that picture that AC, I tricked him. And I said, here's my mold remediation box truck. That was my first truck right there. And then we had a van, but I guess it's cut out of this one. That's my neighbor. He lives downstairs on the left. That's my brother-in-law. Yeah, it was just me, man, one employee, but you gotta fake it till you make it, okay? Right? So you gotta promote yourself out of a job. So you need a great assistant that one day will be a lead tech, right? Pretty quickly. So my assistants usually are gonna be my lead techs, and then you can hire your assistants. But you need a great lead tech. Okay, here's Barbara. She was our first office manager, really answering the phones, doing sales support. She was really, really, really good until she started spreading gossip. And I didn't pick up on this until it was a little late. I gave her like 3 warnings, but we had to let her go. She was awesome until she wasn't. But that's usually how it goes. And it was my fault. It was the leadership. I should have saw it coming. I should have had more one-on-ones. There was things I should have done. But she's in the middle of the service side and the sales side. And so the sales were always, hey, the technicians are screwing up my jobs, or they're not calling, and they're throwing frustrations on her. Then the technicians are like, the guys are underselling the bids and all this stuff, you know what I mean? And then she's like, Tim, to our sales rep, the guys are saying you're underbidding the jobs. And he's getting frustrated, right? So his morale goes down. Then the technician's morale goes down. And she's just like in between, just feeding it. And I didn't see it. And so one day I came to work, and Tim's out in the sales vehicle in front of the shop, and he's doing phone calls. And so I knock on the window, like, Tim, what are you doing out here, man? Oh, I'm just following up on leads. I'm like, why don't you go into the warm office? Like, what are you doing? He's like, the Barbara's in there. I was like, yeah, dude, she's in there every day. What's going on, man? no, I'm not going in there because I'm going to hear every story about everybody and what they're complaining about and all this, and I'm not going to get anything done. And I was like, ooh, I was like, okay. All right, yeah, hang out here, man. Let me figure this out, though, for you, because that's not good, you know? And so then I had some talks with Barbara, and things didn't get, it just wasn't progressing. And then one day, like, there's a straw that broke the camel's back, was a customer called me. And he's a business owner, so he called me. He's like, hey, man, I just want to reach out and let you know, business owner to business owner, I had the job scheduled today. I took off of work for 2-3 hours, to kind of get you guys started and everything, meet the guys and that kind of stuff. And he's like, I loved it all the way up until now. And he's like, you guys were above and beyond, but let me tell you what happened. And I was like, yeah, please do. And so he said, look, I called, nobody showed up, number one. I took off of work. It's raining, but nobody showed up, nobody called. I called your office and I spoke with Barbara. And so she got on the phone and I said, hey, nobody called, nobody showed up. She's like, it's raining. Like that. It's raining. And I was like, and he was just like, her tone, her attitude, she's like, we're just going to have to reschedule the job. And I'm talking a big job. It's a big, we do big jobs, right? And so I'm just like, oh my word. It was over, I don't know, $1,500. And so we ended up losing that job. He's like, look, I want to be honest, I see what you guys do, but that really, really turned me off. And so I ended up having to recoup it. I did recoup it, but we lost it for that week. And I ended up calling the guy back and I said, look, I actually let Barbara go. And I said, I'm really sorry. That's not anything what our company is about. And I said, we're here to serve you. And I said, I'm going to come out personally and I'm going to be with the guys. I'm going to clean your house, right? Hell or high water. We're going to get it done. We're going to make you happy. And it's not a one-time clean. This is a relationship. I want to be here for you from now on, right? And so we ended up, I had to let Barbara go. She ended up moving back. She has some family issues that I didn't know about, something with her daughter, and she ended up moving back. Actually, she's in Texas, somewhere in Texas. But anyway, it was really good until it wasn't. So you got to read your people, and you got to just have a little bit of accountability, those systems we talked about with the checklist, and then having one-on-ones with your team. And that's kind of where I wasn't good at in the very beginning. Now we're a little bit better. And so, it is that great lead tech. But my first person really in the office was that office support person. We grew 30%. I was so scared to hire her because me and my wife, we were like, yeah, it's going to cost us. And this is funny because it was $380 a week. And I was like, how are we going to afford $380? Now I look at it, I'm like, $380, I would, you know what I mean? It's crazy. And so we grew 30% because she started answering the phones. She took all that weight off of me. I could focus on sales now because I was the only sales guy. And then I brought Tim off of the lead tech into sales with me. And then that's when it really started booking up 2.5 trucks. And then I put another one on the road. And then we went to 3, put another one on the road, went to 4. And then it was like boom, boom, boom right after that because then we had the real system. And don't get me wrong, I had to tweak a lot of things, our sales process, training people. But that, we grew 30% by putting the office girl in the office. Getting me off the truck and then putting her in the office so I could solely focus on sales. Those were the biggest things. So when I was freed up to do mostly sales and build the business and be that visionary, right? Really start looking at the business and working on it, not in it. So who are we selling to? So we're consistently selling our business to 2 groups, potential customers and potential employees. Look, we look really good for customers, right? With our brochures, our uniforms. Why not look really good for our employees? Do those things. I talked about Tommy Mello earlier. He puts massage chairs, like $4,000 massage chairs in his office. He's got PS5. They do fun things in his office for his team. And that's really cool. Like we go go-karting, we do axe throwing, we do picnics, all kinds of stuff. Get them involved. Get that culture going. So we try so hard to look great for customers. Why not employees? But you have to look the part. And so this was our office. This is actually really old, but this was our office because I remember doing this and hanging that TV and making it look like, the Star Trek Darth Vader ship, right? So when you walk into the office, you're like, whoa, what are all these monitors for? We're like, yeah, we track everything, man. We got monitor, we got report here and there. So when people would come in for interviews, I would walk them through the office, right? We'd have our marketing/business plan. We would have the chains I was talking about on the wall. We'd have our sales board. Everybody's header was up there. They walked in, they were like, what is going on here? This isn't your average company, right? Like, we track everything. So how do you win here? We have the system so you can win. So that's when I started calling in the pest control company and the ADT alarm guy, and I would interview those guys and try to snatch them up so they'd come do sales for me. Because if they were really good, I want them on my team because they want to go to the next best thing, right? They want to make some money. And then this was the way to do it. Here was out in my shop. That was the board that I was telling you guys where we raced the trucks, and we would have the headers for our 3 trucks right there. And they would come in and they would look, and we would do our training right here. You know, it was just fun stuff. This was our first SH tank. It was like 500 gallons inside our office right there. But we turned this. We had to, as we expanded our business, this whole area now is the sales room. It's got a roof on it, storage is above. So we had to keep adding on to our office, which was really fun and cool too. And then here's another one. So you saw that first picture. It turned into this, and we had 2 office girls in there. We had 2 TVs with our reports on there, our dispatch board, and then we had email. So anyway, it was just really cool to kind of look and come in and be like, what is going on here? You know, we had scripts. You can see all the sticky notes. They got crazy. We had a younger girl in there. She had a price list up there. She was like, I want to know everything. And she put sticky notes so she could have the buzzwords and know what to say when customers call. And then there's Abigail. She's in there. She would always love to come to work with me. But it starts with recruiting, right? So you got to get the word out there. You got to be attractive. Your company has to be attractive. Present your package, what you're going to be, paying per year, whatever that is, hourly. Be ready to negotiate. I've had really good guys that I'm like, I can't afford you, but how do we work this out? I had a guy leave a $250,000 a year salary to come work for me for $50,000. Yeah, as my sales manager. So he was working for Gutter Helmet, doing sales and training all over the place, and he actually coached me 5 years prior, and I was always pulling him in, and he's like, dude, I've seen your company go from here to here. He's like, how do I get in on that? Like, he wanted the culture. He wanted to see what I was doing. And so we ended up hiring him for $50,000 a year, and he became a director for us over sales. And so that was really good. But you have to be ready to negotiate those kinds of things. You might have to pay a little bit more to get that quality person, but he's going to do it. Chet was here, and he said he pays his guy 1% over the whole gross, right? Because that guy's like a manager. He's invested now in the company. So think about how you can do that with your guys. You might not be able to do it right out the gate, but as you start scaling and making more money, think about ways to get them in on the team. But have several players in consideration. We do group interviews because I don't like to waste my time. I don't like to waste their time. And I'll have like 15 guys come in and they want to apply, and they're like, yeah, I'll be there at the interview. And then shoot, I got 2 people, that show up maybe, right? And so I'm like, all right, I got 6 interviews. Great, let's set them up on one day. We'll take them out. It's called the STAR approach. You can kind of Google it. It says STAR, STAR approach for hiring. And so it tells you about the situation, the questions to ask them and stuff. But I bring them out, and I'm like, hey, take the ladder off that truck, and then set it up on the building and do the working interview. Like, do it. Find out if they can walk the walk, and they're not just talking, right? Because they're selling themselves too. You know what I mean? And so you want to make sure that that's a good fit for you, and you guys, can work together. And then hire up. Hire people that are better than you. I have technicians that clean way better than I do, right? I want that. And so don't be like, I can clean better than anybody. You know what I mean? I've seen guys like, I do it this way, my spray pattern's like this. I'm like, dude, it's just spray bleach on the house, get it clean, get a paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man, don't overthink this stuff. But, we use that stuff, the tips and everything. Don't get me wrong, we're going to use that in our sales presentation, and we want the consistency and that kind of stuff. But don't get too overwhelmed in that. So player position. So there is a big difference between kill the man with the ball and football, right? You can field 11 players either way. So player positions, which are your job descriptions, okay? You can send out a whole bunch of people to clean a building, and they'll be like all over the place doing spraying over here, and you're like, what is going on? You got to have the job descriptions for that guy. Who's the leader on the truck? You know, me and Doug and Ray were talking earlier, you know, you have a lead tech and assistant tech. The lead tech is responsible for everything on that truck. You know, I joke around, I say, that's why you make the big bucks, man. Like, don't leave your blower at the job site. Don't pull off out of the thing with your trailer lights not hooked up. Like, don't be dumb. Just walk around the truck, you know? But you gotta have that job description stuff so that they can do that kind of stuff. And they know what you expect. That's the biggest thing, is knowing what you expect as a business owner, the way you wanna run it, so they can win, right? Because if you don't tell them how to do it, they're sure not gonna do it. So you have to have specific roles to play, right? So we have quarterbacks, we got running backs, we got linemen, tight ends, wide receivers, special teams, team captains. Everyone on your team needs a job description, okay? I've built job descriptions for, like, my company was $1.8 million. I have job descriptions all the way up there to a $1.8 million company, because that was the vision. I was like, okay, what's my org chart look like? Who do those people need to be in there for this thing to run? Do I need field supervisors? Who's gonna do quality control, right? I'm really big on job stalking. I'm literally the guy in the bushes with the binoculars looking, and then, like, we were doing a big job. It was on 85, it was for BMW. And my guys, I wanted to make sure they had the ropes on, they were doing everything. I parked across the street in the minivan, and I'm watching them, and my assistant tech was down on the ground. I can't remember why I wasn't on the roof, but he was, like, walking around, like he didn't know what he was doing. And so I call Ryan, and I'm like, how's it going over there, man? You know, and he's like, oh, it's going good. Yeah, we're up on the roof, we're spraying the TPO roof, and I was like, so where's the assistant? He's like, he knew I was watching. You see him going like this on the roof, he's looking. And I was like, he's down on the ground, man, he doesn't know what he's doing. I was like, he needs a little bit of leadership, and he's like, where are you? You know, because that's not the first time I've done that, you know. I job stalk the jobs. I always, you know, am watching. I get pictures, and the funniest thing, we were doing a condo complex in Spartanburg, and so we had our flatbed truck, and so one of the tenants was a girlfriend of somebody's, like, uncle. Like, I don't know how it got to me, but it got to me, and they took a picture of the rig, and so I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I sent it to the technician from the inside picture, you know what I mean, out the window to the truck, and I said, I'm always watching. Dot, 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 dot. And so I do that stuff all the time, because they're like, when you get a new employee, guess what that one's going to say the next? Pat always watches. And I get pictures from competitors, because people know who I am in my area. I'll be in Tallahassee, and I'll get a picture of where that guy is, and I'll text the guy, like, hey, man, where you guys at? Joe's Crab Shack? How do you know that? You know what I mean? Like, and I'll send them the picture of a competitor there, set a vehicle. I have eyes everywhere, and it's so funny, because that guy will tell the next guy. So if we get a new lead tech, hey, man, don't screw up, man, he's watching. I don't know how he does it, but he's watching, you know? It's fun. It's a lot of fun. But we got to do strength training, right? So skill development is very, very important. This is when we launched the Charlotte, North Carolina branch. I created a 6-month business plan. All those buckets, you'll see it goes into the sales room to the left. There's 2 offices in the back. To the left, you'll see the sales room. Those are filled with flyers. We have the exact amount of flyers that go in that bin, 338. We have the system down for, I know how many calls I'm going to get off every flyer. In our busy season, we get 1 call per 95 flyers. And it all depends on, that's the one that says, what's eating your roof. That's our flyer. But we track every flyer and what the response rate is, how many needs to go out. So I know my territory managers, when I'm training them, they're like, I need to get 10 leads this week. Great, how many flyers do you need to hold out? And he'll tell me, boom. And I'll say, okay, how many cold calls do you need to do? Boom, he'll tell me, right? We have it down to a system. And we train on that. So in-house training starts with that. Then we have certifications. We have classes like you guys are in now, right? You know, I bring my sales reps to some of those. You can go to different online classes, right? All my guys get trained by Sales Boost. I have an online course called Sales Boost. I train all my territory managers through that. Events, apprenticeships. You guys can go to other people's locations. Ray always is looking for people to help him. You guys want to go work? Ray's like, come on, man. He loves free labor, right? Come to my office. I'm the same way, right? So it's fun, but you can do apprenticeships where guys are like, yeah, man, come out for a day. You know, you want to learn paper sealing. Go to somebody who's doing really good in paper sealing that you want to do, right? Develop your players. Even if it's just you right now, right? Develop you. You guys are here. You know, that's what you're doing. And then team meetings. This was the biggest thing. As we were growing, the biggest thing for us was like, you know, what's the downside of Precision Pro Wash? And they always said communication. It was communication. I was like, dude, we're doing a lot of meetings. I'm like, how can I improve on communication? And to be honest with you, it's Flock. I have the app on my phone. It's called Flock, F-L-O-C-K. And so on Flock, I'll show you guys real quick. On Flock, I have different channels. So I have my office staff. So all my office staff in there, they all talk to each other. And then if they have any questions, I have a sales boost team. I have the operations side. So on my sales boost team, look, Lanny sold a 267470 package C. Everybody's like, way to go, Lanny, right? That's what it's all about. So we started using an app, an internal, there's a bunch of different ones, but we promote that stuff. So we're always seeing what's going on, and then they can communicate. And that was the biggest icebreaker for that. People are like, I love the app. They feel appreciated. They're putting their before and afters in there, all that stuff. So find something that you can really communicate with your team. But you need to, look, team meetings are about who are we playing next? Are we going after hotels? Are we going after apartment complexes, right? What is the plan of attack? What are our goals? How do we score? These are questions you got to start asking yourself. And I'm going to show you guys my marketing/business plan of we have our 4 niches and how we define what our goals are and who we're playing. We have a stalker wall, much like this. It's a little bit bigger. Did you hear me? We have a stalker wall. People are like, okay, you're getting a little weird, Pat. But no, we have a wall that has property managers, the hotels, like what hotel we want to do, what the property manager's name is, when their birthday is, like when they're going to be on site. We have this in our office because I want to be there when they're ready to buy. You know, and you can't do that when it's just you. If you have territory managers, now you're replicating. That guy's going to go in there over and over and again. Where we as business owners, we're like, forget. We're like, oh, dude, I forgot to go over that Marriott or the Holiday Inn or whatever it was, right? And so when you can replicate that, now you can put it on a board and you can attack. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get this work. That's how Ray and Tanya kill it. Tanya's always knocking on the doors. Ray's knocking. They're getting it. They're always making those constant touches. Nobody in the industry is doing what Ray's doing with commercial. You know what I'm saying? Be that guy. If you're going to do it, be the expert in it. And then cast your vision, okay? Your team needs to know where we're going. They need to know what's going on with the company. You know, it's really big to cast that vision. And then competition. So humans are driven by competition. So here's that room in the sales office at Charlotte. So we had our big sales board right there. We had the chains. That whole room is full of flyers. We were ready to launch that. But we got to set goals, right? We got to define tasks. We have to reward for achievement. So if my guys sell over 10 grand in a week, they get $250 bonus. If they sell over 15,000, just residential, not commercial, just residential, they get $500 bonus if they sell over 15 grand. I've had guys sell $20,000 in a week doing sales. I can't do that. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have the time for that. I don't have the patience for that. But my guys will do it because of this. The rewards, we amp them up like crazy. I mean, everybody's on there. Sam Brooks, he's our old territory manager. He retired. And so he's still on Flock. He's like, dude, keep me on Flock, please. I'm like, really? Because he used to complain about it. We used to get messages. You know, I'm like 2 o'clock in the morning. I think of something. I'm like, posting Flock. They're like, dude, Pat, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing up at 2 o'clock in the morning? I'm like, dude, I can't sleep. Like, I got to write this down. And so Sam was like, yeah, keep me on Flock. So he's like promoting. He's like, dude, he's like, Lanny, crush it, man. You know what I mean? And it's fun, and that's that culture. And so you got to reward for achieve. So Jody Stedman, there's this Jody Stedman right here. Every time we had a lead, you can see the Q and the C. See that right there? So it's been quoted, it's been closed. The C means closed. And so I would walk in on a Friday. I wasn't there all week. I'll walk in on a Friday, and I'll look at the chains on the walls, and I'll know what territory manager is doing what. I'll see how many tickets they had. I can see if they're out working and producing. So on Friday, I'm like, dude, if I see chains all the way down, I'm like, that's a good week, right? But if I see change halfway and stuff, or if I see none or 2 or 3, I gotta have a talk with that guy. You know, I'm like, dude, $5,000? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you should be, my son can sell $5 grand. What are you doing? Yeah. But you do.
We're all sitting here going, God, I wish I could sell 5,000 a week. And Pat's like, yeah, I've got like 10 people to sell 5,000 a week for me.
But it's the system. But you know, I wasn't always that way, though. You know what I mean? You build this system. You find out why you win. That's what this whole thing was about with the systems and the high-end residential. You can see how it's all kind of coming together now. But you got to pick that opponent. Who are we going after? You know, we were talking the other day. It was like, well, we got to stay in our lane in the beginning. Don't go over here. Don't do that. You know, what do you want to do now and focus on that, all your efforts on that, and I promise you, you'll succeed. But if you're like over here washing trucks and then the next day you're over here doing mobile remediation, you're over here, not going to work. Focus, focus. Pick that opponent and go after it. Remember, an army without an enemy stands in apathy, unprepared. Okay? So keeping score. So teams keep score. You need to keep score. So we have company reports. We have sales boards. We have production boards. We have contests and quotas. Without a target, everyone looks like a marksman, right? So if you're not putting those boards, on our sales board, we have a red marker and we have a blue marker. What do you think the red marker's for? It's bad. If you don't meet your sales for the day or for the week, you gotta make that decision. Say, oh, I gotta pick up the red marker today, and you gotta put whatever it is because you didn't hit your goal. Not to diminish anybody, but it takes effort now that you know that maybe you didn't do enough today. But I don't always do numbers either. I don't like, hey, it's a numbers, you got to close 10 grand. I don't want that. If it's a bad week, it's raining or whatever, but guess what? You put out the flyers, you put out the yard signs, you talk to 10 people, dude, high five all day long, like I'm dancing for you, you know what I mean? Because I know next week, guess what he's going to have? More leads, right? So not every week, it's not all about numbers. It's about supporting them, helping them. You're like, dude, you're having a bad week this week? Yeah, man, I'm just not getting any traction. Let me ride with you. Let me ride with you for a day, and just maybe it's an attitude correction. Maybe it's that level 7 excitement. Maybe they're not excited. Maybe something's going on. You really learn a lot by somebody, especially if you're in the car and you're doing about 40 miles an hour and you whip the e-brake. You'll learn a lot about that person. You know, I did do that. But you make it fun, okay? So your marketing / business plan. So this is our 8-foot by 4-foot marketing / business plan that we have. And you can see right here, we have our 4 niches. So we have our residential right here. We had 800,000. We had TPO roofs. We want to do 400,000. We had multifamily, 400,000. And then hospitality, 200,000. And then we get really strategic, right? So all the yellows are all the sunny days we have throughout the year. So I reverse engineer my year and I say, okay, how many good working days do we have last year? What does that look like? Maybe we'll have that here. So then I'll say, okay, we got 21 good working days. That tells me what my goal is going to be for the month. Because if I have 21 good working days, I know I need to do $2,000 per truck, you know, and then it'll tell me. I just reverse engineer that. I know I got to do, right here, you can see our numbers right here. It goes 20, 40, 60, 80, up to $240,000. And so you can see how we scale, right? And then we kind of go over, and then that year was really bad. You know what I mean? But you track that stuff, and then you're like, okay, well, why did our sales drop off here? And this was my first sales manager. He was like, well, Pat, I don't think we need to do clip flyers. I was like, really? I was like, all right, I'll let it be a lesson to him, because if we don't do the production, guess what he doesn't get? A bonus. Yeah, or paid. So he stopped doing flyers. When do you think he stopped doing flyers? Yep, right in August. Not a good move, right? But I had to let him eat it. I lost, I think, $80,000 by teaching him a lesson, hoping that it would teach him, but it didn't work out because he tore his Achilles, and then we had to let him go. But I was hoping to teach him a lesson, because it's not all about money. It's about building them, teaching them, and sometimes you got to teach them the hard way by hurting their pocket, or maybe even, taking a little dip. But that's what we did, and we're like, okay, but the next year, look what we did. You know what I mean? And we crushed it. because we kept the flyers. We're like, all right, well, we're not going to do that again. How can we replicate what we were doing earlier, right? And so we track everything. We track when back to school is. We track, holidays, all that stuff, weather patterns. We get really into it on that. But you got to track that stuff. Have your marketing/business plan, and then know where you want to go. If you want to do $200,000, reverse engineer that $200,000. What do you need to do every month, every week, right? And then it'll happen. I remember in my apartment complex, my office was in my walk-in closet. I had a little table, my laptop was right there, and I had this big aero glass, and I would fill in each bubble represented $400. Excuse me. I forget what my goal was at that time, but every time I would do a $400 job, I would color in the bubbles, and I knew what I was getting. I was tracking it every day. I would walk into my walk-in closet, and I would track it. And so later on, when I got my office, I always tell people I kind of came out of the closet. And that was about 2012. But but you gotta track that stuff on a daily basis. When you get out of bed, my rug says slay the day, right? When I get out of bed, that's my morning thing. It's like, get out of bed, it's like, all right, man, I got slay today. I'm gonna win today. I'm not gonna let today win me. Okay? And then I'm gonna get my goals and make it happen. So we talk about accountability, remember? Accountability is a really big thing. So leadership without accountability is anarchy. I mean, it's crazy, right? We've all seen it, where we put in that system for 2 weeks, and then boom, they're doing whatever the heck they want, and you're like, what happened? So you got to have that accountability. So your employees need to know you are watching. Always. Let them know you're always watching. You got to get a nice set of binoculars. Remember that, okay? Nice set of binoculars. Spy on those guys. Employees need to know their responsibilities. Job descriptions, right? Employees need to know the rules of the game. How they win, how they lose, how they don't pass go, they don't collect $100, right? With your bonuses or whatever it is. So as an owner, you cannot hold somebody accountable to the rules without having rules. You got to put that company manual, whatever it is. Locks are for keeping the honest. So we had to have the 10 Commandments to know what sin was, right? So think about that in your company. What are your rules? What are your guidelines, right? What is your uniform? Put that into your company manual. And then have compassion. So be a compassionate leader to build a team. Don't be that hard boss. I've coached a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people, and some people are like, man, I just can't get employees. And I was like, well, tell me about that. He's like, well, the guy, we were working, and he didn't roll up the hose, correctly, and I just blew my lid, man. I started yelling at him, cursing at him. I'm like, really? I'm like, well, let me ask you a question. Would you work for you? Right? And he was like, well, no. Because he was a hard boss, and nobody wanted to work for him. I was like, that's why you're not getting guys. That's why they're only lasting 3 days, and then they're going home. They're probably crying. You know what I mean? Be that compassionate. And there's a fine line. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to be you can be friends with your guys, but it's a fine line. Yeah. If you start really being buddy-buddy, you guys are they're going to take advantage. You know what I'm saying? I've had it happen to me where I've been buddy-buddy with some guys, and then they're coming in late, or a couple 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, and then you got to run your company on policies, not feelings. I had to learn that the hard way. I had some hard lessons I had to learn along the way. So be equitable and firm. There needs to be balance between discipline and praise. And remember, there is no I in team. We've all heard that. Superstars and rule benders hurt overall performance. Okay, you might have a really good guy, especially even in sales, but he's not doing his due diligence. He's overdoing he's selling like crazy. I've had this happen. This guy's selling really, really good, but he's creating tons of headache for everybody else in the office. Then morale goes down, then the team goes down, and then they feel like you're babying that guy, you know what I mean? Well, he's getting all the sales, man, you're not doing anything about what else he's doing, you know what I mean? He's not filling out the tickets correctly. So then the office manager's like, the numbers don't quite jive, but he sold the job. No, you have to have that system. Working together as a unit starts at the ownership level. This is big, right? You gotta do what you say. A lot of times I'm like, yeah, you need to do this and this.